They have 6 games left to go now. It was nice while it lasted.
So we're finally admitting that it's over?
Yeah, it's over, Johnny. I gotta be realistic at this point. It's just too much to overcome.
Preds lose 5-1 to the Dallas Stars Monday night inside American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. Stat of the day, Preds Nation, because coming into this one, I realized the Preds hadn't won a game this year against the Dallas Stars, had they? So I was curious, when was the last time this happened? Because the Preds and Stars have always been in the Western Conference. They've almost always been in the same division. So when was the last time this happened? So I had to go back and go back and go back, and the Preds almost always won at least one game against the Stars before this year. 2003, 2004, the Preds and Stars tied once and lost the remaining 3 games against the Dallas Stars. So that doesn't count. The last time the Preds got swept by the Dallas Stars and lost every single game to them, the 2000-2001 season. That was my first year after graduating high school. That's how long it's been. You know, Preds Nation, nights like this may seem easy to you, me doing these fan reaction videos with not a lot to talk about when the Preds get ultimately embarrassed by ultimately the better team that is just preparing itself for the playoff grind. But these games can be very draining. Watching the Preds get defeated so badly. Not their fault. They were just against a much better team in the Dallas Stars. But it's mentally draining watching, mentally draining wanting to talk about it afterwards. But that is my job when I took on making these fan reaction videos, to serve as a distraction to you from everyday life and trying to cheer you up after a game like this. Think of it this way. If the Preds had not made any moves leading up to the deadline and probably had some healthy guys in this lineup still, say a Tanner Jeannot was still here and he wasn't injured right now, or say a Nino Niederreiter hadn't been traded and he wasn't injured, or a Granlund, this team probably still would have lost to the Stars and we would probably still be out of a playoff spot. But it's a process. You know, you have to lose to be able to win again, to be able to get that playoff window open and then maybe go on a cup contending run. We're at the bottom of the mountain, in that valley, trying to find our way back up the mountainside. You know who's going to be there eventually, even though they delayed it temporarily this year? Pittsburgh's going to be there eventually. Maybe not this year, but that cup window, I think it's shut. Their playoff window, it's shut. Dallas's window just reopened again. Nashville can get there again too. And you know, until about the halfway mark of the second period, this was relatively a close game. You know, after one period, it was only 1-0 Dallas. Nashville had correctly called that the first Dallas goal that they had scored was actually offside. Then they waved it off. It was still scoreless, but then Dallas scored again. And then halfway through the second period, Nashville actually came out with a lot of jump, a lot of hopping around, putting pressure on Dallas. But unfortunately, Scott Wedgwood was just a little bit better than UC Soros because he had a good supporting cast in front of him. Overall, for the entire game, the game was relatively close in the shot total. So it's not like Dallas massively outplayed the Preds. It's just the fact that the Stars' defense was a lot better at preventing Nashville forwards, the kids, from getting in and bearing any of their chances on Wedgwood, other than Cal Foot's goal that would break Wedgwood's shutout. Dallas is currently priming themselves up for their playoff run. They're in a 3-way battle for the Central Division lead or falling into the 2 or 3 spot. They're not going to get a wild card spot in the Central Division. They're comfortably in the top 3. Hopefully, for their sake, they get the top of the Central Division, because the Western Conference in the top 3 in the Pacific and the Central Division are going to be a gauntlet. The only thing the Stars had to work on, really, in my opinion, that came out from this game is that Nashville massively outplayed them in a face-off circle. As for the Preds' lineup decisions for this game, next man up, Leonard returned to the Preds lineup for Milwaukee because everyone's favorite punching bag Cole Smith got hurt in a game against St. Louis on Saturday. There's nothing really much more you can take from this game. There's now 6 games left to go. You can't really second guess the goalie decision, because I think if Kevin Lankinen had started in this game, the Preds still would have lost. So now you got to expect that he'll start tomorrow night back in Nashville against Vegas, who just beat Minnesota. And Vegas, maybe they'll be a little tired. Maybe you could catch them napping, because I pretty much have already said they're done. I'm just enjoying this to see if they can maybe pull a rabbit out of the hat, maybe fall into the playoff spot. If they want to get a playoff spot, I knew going into this game with the 4 games this week that the Preds basically had to win 3 of the 4, including winning outright this coming Saturday in Winnipeg. Well, they lost Monday outright, so it puts more pressure on the Preds for the remaining games this week. And like I said about the Winnipeg game, that aside, with Vegas tomorrow back in Nashville and Carolina, a team that doesn't obviously affect the Preds because they're in the other conference, and Vegas, they can't reach in the standings. The Preds are only focused on catching Winnipeg and beating out Calgary for that last playoff spot. And I'm pretty sure with both teams, the Preds can't beat them on tiebreakers, which means the Preds have to beat them each out in the standings by a point. So tomorrow in Vegas and Thursday against Carolina, you just got to focus on winning by any means necessary. Whether it's a regulation win, an overtime win, or a shootout win, you got to get 2 points. So you got to beat Vegas tomorrow night back at Bridgestone. You got to beat Carolina Thursday in Bridgestone. And then when you go to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Saturday on Hockey Night in Canada, you got to win that game outright. If they do it, maybe they'll get my hopes up at some miracle next week. Otherwise, I'm just going to enjoy the ride and see what these kids have left in them to take with them going into next season. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really like it. You can find my social media by clicking on the channel name. Tell all your friends about Redemption. Unfortunately, they're going to end up coming up a little bit short, Preds Nation, but hopefully these next 6 games against quality playoff teams battle test these kids for the 82 game grind next year.